Hey there, Agile Adventurer. Just a quick question. What if, for the price of a fancy coffee or half a pizza, you could unlock over 700 hours of the best Agile content on the planet? That's audio, video, e-courses, books, presentations, all that you can think of. But you can also join live calls with world-class practitioners and hang out in a flame war-free and AI slop-clean Slack with the sharpest minds in the game. Oh, and yes, you get direct access to me, Vasco, your Scrum Master Toolbox podcast. No, this is not a drill. It's the Scrum Master Toolbox membership. And it's your unfair advantage in the Agile world. So if you want to know more, go check out scrummastertoolbox.org/membership. That's scrummastertoolbox.org/membership. And check out all the goodies we have for you. Do it now. But if you're not doing it now, let's listen to the podcast. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Wednesday, the big coaching question of the week. This week, we have with us Alf Dobbert-Baums. Hey, Alf, welcome back.
Hello.
So let's talk about challenges and coaching through those challenges. We, of course, as Scrum Masters, help many others through this process of coaching. And that's what we hope to also model here on this episode. And for that, we start with a topic that you have in mind, Alf. So what is the challenge you bring us this week?
I have the challenge. Currently, the big challenge is, of course, AI and process strictness. And it's basically, I think AI and the developers, they are on good terms, so to say. I think they have included AI pretty good, but now management wants to do the whole product management thingy with AI, and that means that they want to implement some stricter processes. And
what a surprise! Where do you live again? Oh, Germany, of course.
Of course. Yes.
Isn't the answer always stricter processes in
yes,
Germany,
definitely.
no matter what the problem might be?
Yes, definitely. Yeah. So that's
okay. Tell me a little bit more about this. So I lived in Germany. I know how important processes and agreements, very often detailed written agreements, are for people working in that culture. At least they were where I worked in Germany, in South Germany. When you say stricter process in the context of a German company, for me it sounds a little bit like repetition, because I would expect German companies to already have stricter processes than anywhere else in the world. So help me understand, for those who are not from Germany and do not understand the level of importance of those written agreements in the culture, what does that, in that context, what does stricter process mean?
Well, it means that the management writes a book and says, okay, this is how we develop, and it doesn't matter which product. We have a couple of products in our company. It doesn't matter which product. They need to all do the same thing. All need to have the same quality gates, and even, well, that would be good, but also need to have the same JIRA boards, and all the same JIRA boards, and with all the same columns in JIRA, and this is how we work. So basically, that's very strict. And the thing is that they write a book. As I mentioned, they write a book about how we work, and it sounds sometimes very strict. But on the other hand, they sometimes then say, okay, yes, but it's not meant to be so strict. It's you have flexibility, and you can do it a little bit like you want to. And I think that creates some confusion with the teams. So they don't really know, okay, do I need to follow these rules, or are they at my goodwill or not? And so this is basically a very big challenge that we have right now within actually our whole company.
When I hear you say management writes a book that they expect others to follow, I immediately get reminded of the legal system, which in all countries and definitely in Germany is extremely complex and hard to understand.
Yes.
It's also hard to imagine a system that has had more human investment in terms of time and amount of people, as well as more scrutiny than a legal system in any country. So we know for a fact that legal systems have a huge amount of social effort to be developed, right. And they are still constantly challenged. In fact, there is one little known system we've developed. It's called the court system, to try to figure out what we actually meant with the laws we wrote ourselves, which is ironic, but also very true and very human. So let me ask this without any sarcasm. But has management considered what is the equivalent to a court system that they need to build in order to support the existence of the book that they have already written? Like, is there an understanding that even written rules have many possible interpretations in that system?
Well, that is a very good question, and I'm not sure. I'm not certain. And as I mentioned, it is. On the one hand, it's written very strict, but on the other hand, it is not very strictly, so to say, applied or it's said, okay, it is written here, very strict, but you don't need to follow it. And this is kind of like, this lays a burden basically on the employees because they suddenly don't know, do I need to have it strict or can I have it loose?
And that leads me to the next question. Okay, so we hear, or I hear, that there's no court system being developed. Or in other words, there's no system of interpretation being created to support the use of the rules. Which means that, as you said, the interpretation is delegated to the person executing the work, which might be the right thing to do, depends where we go, because then comes the next question. Has the people who wrote that list of rules, that book of rules, have they been clear in describing and defining the goals? In other words, what does success mean when we adopt this process that we defined?
Well, actually, no, they have not. That was actually when I saw the first, so to say, PowerPoint, I mentioned, well, there are so many negative points here that you want to get rid of. Why don't you do it as a goal and formulate it in a positive way? So if we say we have too many meetings, why don't you say we want to reduce our meetings? Because it's just a different Haltung, which is kind of like a different mindset.
When I hear you say that, I'm thinking, okay, so we have a very extensive set of rules we must follow. You described it as a book, so certainly it's not very short number of rules like the Agile Manifesto was, which was 4 plus 12, right? Like 4 values, 12 principles. So it's much more than that. And management expects implicitly, I guess, that brings some benefit. But I hear you say that the benefit hasn't yet been defined. Okay, so now I have a problem in my mind. Like if I'm asked to interpret a rule in society in general, I have thousands of years of ethical studies and writings to get inspiration from. I have my peers who can inspire me and inform me about what is ethical in a specific context. I have my business counterparts, which will tell me what's acceptable or not in terms of conduct with them. But what does that team have in order to know, implicitly in this case, because there's no goal, there's only a very strict set of rules, how can the team try to assess what the intention was behind that strict set of rules?
Basically, basically, that's the whole point. It's very confusing. They have very much confusion, and I think what they are now doing is kind of like experiment. How far can they bend those rules? But they are always unsure, and this is another very important thing. Psychological safety, basically, because they don't know, is this still acceptable or is it already, will I get punished for it? And this is very unhealthy, I think.
So what conversations have you been able to have with the teams themselves to try to figure out how they are in practice trying to interpret the rules that they have been given?
Well, in my team we have this thing, common sense. So we say we have common sense, and we will follow common sense, and we will use this common sense by applying those rules. And if they absolutely make no sense, then we say, okay, how can we skip it? How can we say, okay, this is acceptable for us, and we can argue that it is right now not the best way, so to say, and we basically bend the rules. Yes.
So that leads me to the next thing, because of course, knowing that you're in Germany, I know that this may cause some stress to the people involved, bending the rules. I mean, have you considered starting? I mean, and I mean not you personally, but you, the group. Have you, as a group, considered starting collecting those specific and explicit feedbacks to provide to those who wrote the book? So management, I imagine, if not somebody that management hired to do so. So that they can translate, okay, here are the specific situations, here's the rule we try to apply and could not find a way to apply. Can you please help us figure this out? Have you tried to collect that? Have you been able to get conversations going around that type of feedback?
We have tried, yes, we have tried, but our feeling is, well, me and some fellow Scrum Masters, our feeling is that we are not heard. So that's basically a very not a very nice situation we are in right now, because yes, we have the feedback and we have collected it and we have it structured basically, and but we have no way to give feedback basically.
So what would you say to a team out there, not your team, but some other team out there who is right now feeling that way, that we are facing this difficulty of applying the rules we are told to follow, and when we try to give feedback, we are not heard? What would you tell them?
That is a very difficult question, because I'm right now in the same situation. Actually, I would say band together, get some more. The more you are, basically, the better it is, I think, and write it down with structure. And what I would now I have the idea, what I would probably do is kind of like, when I mention the negative goals or what you want to get rid of, do it positively and then match it to the things that you want to give feedback on. So basically, if the rule says we want to have less meetings, switch the goal and say something positive. We want to have meaningful meetings. And if one rule just doesn't make sense in that goal to have a positive and meaningful meeting, then match it basically. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for the idea.
Actually, you came up with it. I did not come up with this idea, and that's the power of coaching. I came up with the questions, but I wanted to highlight this process that you just went through, which is to figure out, okay, how can we talk about feedback even when we are told we are not supposed to give feedback? And you came up with the idea, hey, let's turn it into a positive, and more specifically into a goal, right? Don't have so many meetings is kind of a rule, but have more meaningful meetings is a goal. It doesn't tell you how many you should have. That's up to you, but it clearly says which ones you should strive to have and which ones you should not strive to have, right? Like meaningless meetings, let's not have those. Meaningful meetings, let's have those. And I think that that's a great way to frame feedback as well. So thank you for sharing that, Alf.
Sure.
All right, I hope you liked this episode. But before you hit next episode, here's the deal. This podcast is powered by people like you, the members who wanted more than just inspiration. They wanted real tools and real connection to people who are practicing Agile every day. We're talking access to over 700 hours of Agile Gold, CTO level strategy talks, summit keynotes, live workshops, e-courses, deep dive interviews, books, and if you're into no estimates, we got the pioneers of no estimates in those deep dive interviews as well. Agile business intelligence, creating product visions, coaching your product owner courses, you name it. You'll get invites to monthly live Q&As with Agile pioneers and practitioners, plus a private Slack community, which is free of all of that AI slop you see everywhere, and of course, without the flame wars. It's a community of practitioners that want to learn and thrive together. It's the best place to connect with community and learn together. So if this podcast has helped you before, imagine what you will get from this podcast membership. So head on over to scrummastertoolbox.org/membership and join the community that's shaping the future of Agile. And we have so much for you. So check out all the details at scrummastertoolbox.org/membership, because listening is great, it's important, but doing it together, that's next level. I'll see you in the community Slack. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.